right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. It's been a while. I've been on vacation for a week and was kind of busy the week before that. So, yeah, been a while. I'm glad to be back streaming, although I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but the instant I got home from vacation, I got sick. So, we're actually probably not going to be uh going crazy here with stream today. I might not go the full 2 hours. But we're gonna try to have some fun with this. Just be chill and chat and also get back to playing my Pokemon game because I love having that going on in the chat as well. But yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to go over my trip, say hi to people if anyone drops in here, and just take it easy for today, especially because, as I said, I'm sick. I don't necessarily feel like doing any intense gaming, so we'll figure that out as we go. Let's see. I want to now show off. Alright, this is going to look weird on stream for a moment. Let me pop. Actually, that's not as weird as I thought it would be, because it is already off center, which is actually fine by me. Let's get it more off center here. And you know what? We'll do this. Why not? Why not? Actually, hang on. Let me do this. Can I make it bigger? Yes. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's get rid of the starting soon now, because we are now into it. Yeah, so I was on vacation last week, which was was dual purposed vacation, which was actually really fun to do. Um, First off, something that I did last year was I went home to my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, hang out with my parents because they always liked me being there. And the excuse that we had last year and this year is that there was a puzzle competition in St. Louis that we thought would be fun to do. So we did it last year, we did it this year. I'm already planning on doing it again next year because it's growing rapidly and it's a fun event, especially because you get to wander around the largest puzzle warehouse in the country. So that was Saturday and Sunday. What were those dates? Those were the 11th and 12th. Um, so that was fun. Next year's actually good. It's gonna be 3 days. I think they said 16th, 17th, 18th of July next year. Um, but so that was one reason I went on the trip. Now that was again only one weekend. It wasn't like a full week. Because what I ended up doing was using the opportunity of going back to Missouri to do a week-long trip of all of the major Missouri theme parks. Um, I've been to all of them before, but they were all way back when I was like in middle school and high school, and it was before I was a coaster fan. And if anyone's following my Gaming Blue Sky, you know I also taught coasters there. Maybe not a lot, but some. I got into coasters. I got back into coasters, I should say, during COVID, when I rediscovered Roller Coaster Tycoon, which is always a fun game. And not long after that, I went to uh, the local theme park, or one of the two local theme parks for where I am now, King's Dominion, which I had been living in the DC area for 10 years at that point, and I had never gone to King's Dominion. Some friends convinced me to go, and I fell in love. Um, and I will give the preface that between COVID and my first trip to King's Dominion, I did also discover the roller coaster side of YouTube, so I was already a bit interested there. Um, but that kind of started me going in and being a bit more involved in the theme park and roller coaster world. So over the past, I guess now almost 4 years, I've tried to go to parks. Over the past 4 years, I've also still been a postdoc and my first new job, so I didn't have a lot of money for travel and such like that. So almost everything you see for like the first 3 or 4 or the 3 years or so of my like new stage of being a coaster fan, has all just been local Mid-Atlantic stuff. You got Kings Dominion, Six Flags America. I actually made a trip of Busch Gardens Williamsburg because again that's a little bit further, and I had to have a hotel for that. And then more recently a trip out to Ocean City, Maryland, because I usually actually would go to Rehoboth Beach every summer for a soccer tournament that my local club would always run. Um, one a couple of years ago, I decided instead of spending Sunday on the beach, I decided to go a little bit further south from Rehoboth Beach down to Ocean City and check out all the theme parks there. And in fact, I'm already kind of I can already see I mistimed it because where was it? Yes, Jolly Roger has already added a new coaster. Oh, I can't see it. They are on the screen here. Let's go over a bit more. There we go. Jolly Roger has already added a new coaster since I've been. And of course, Busch Gardens Williamsburg also added a new coaster just the other year since I've been. But that kind of makes more sense. Busch Gardens Williamsburg is going to get additions, and I missed a few the first time I was there. Seeing that Jolly Roger got a new park or new coaster is funny to me. Um, but yes, that's how I got into roller coasters recent as an adult. Had to try to remember what I've been to before. There's actually, you can see a little list of kind of what I have honorary credits here from when I was younger. This list actually had 5 coasters on it of like honorary credits before I went to my current theme park trip here this past week or so. Uh, but yeah, I hadn't gone on a lot of roller coasters at Six Flags St. Louis growing up because I was intimidated by things, honestly. Um, and that'll be actually an interesting story as we go through and look at some of the rest of our trip. Excuse me. As I said, I am now sick, so we are not going to do a ton of stuff this stream. What did I just get a message for? Okay, that's not something I need to worry about. All right, so when I scheduled this trip, I thought I would have Friday the 10th as just kind of a ease in day, maybe practice some puzzles with my parents before the competition. And then the following week, I would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday as the theme park trips and fly back on Saturday. Um, which could have been an issue. My mom was worried about airline stuff. If I'm driving back from Kansas City on Saturday morning and I have to fly out Saturday afternoon, that's a bit of a stretch, which is fair. So my parents instead suggested let's just do Six Flags St. Louis on that first Friday you're here because I flew in. I intended to fly in on Thursday evening. This is its own separate story. But my flight Thursday evening got completely canceled out of the blue. And I've never really been canceled on before, except during that one really big travel nightmare over Christmas a couple years ago. I always fly Southwest. Have been always growing up, and I'm still doing it even though they've gotten rid of open seating and increased prices and whatever else not. Because even though they've increased prices, it's still cheap compared to some of the other airlines. So Southwest canceled on me Thursday evening, which meant that Friday that we were then expected to go do Six Flags St. Louis was in question, was in peril. Um, Ultimately, I had to get up way early Friday morning, like 3 or 4 in the morning, make sure I got on my flight, hit Atlanta, had a layover for like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours, then finally flew to St. Louis, and I think I landed at about 1 in the afternoon in St. Louis. Um, Thankfully, that was enough time to actually go to the theme park still. You might ask that, oh, if the original plan was theme parks Monday, Wednesday, Friday the following week, why didn't you just revert to that? The reason for that is we had hotel rooms in Branson and Kansas City already booked, so we couldn't really change those easily. Um, and my parents also had already gotten tickets for specific days for their theme parks. I have the Six Flags Gold Pass from, my home park of King's Dominion. So I wanted the reason we did this trip this year, this week in particular, this year in particular, but this week for whatever, um, was because Six Flags St. Louis and Worlds of Fun are changing chains next year. Actually, let me take another step back here, I guess. Um, for those who don't know, a few years ago, the theme park world in the US, you had your destination resorts like the Disney parks and the SeaWorld parks. And the SeaWorld parks, interestingly, included the Busch Gardens parks. Um, so those parks, the SeaWorld parks, I think they're now called United Parks. I think they've changed recently. But that chain and Disney were like the big resort parks. You're going to spend a lot of money if you ever want to go to any one of those. And they are high quality theming and rides. So they're mostly worth it. Disney maybe, depending on how you do it, but so that was like the top level of theme parks in the US. So that was followed by the Cedar Fair chain, which originally started at Cedar Point, then bought Valley Fair, and then ended up buying lots of things, including the Paramount parks that included Kings Island and Kings Dominion, and like Knott's Berry Farm and other things like that. So you had Cedar Fair as kind of the number three. Right behind it was the Six Flags chain at number four, and of course, all of the Six Flags parks are named with the Six Flags name. Um, and then a little below that, you would have the Herschend chain. And I say below just in terms of size. They had four parks. They were all very well done. Like each park was higher quality than most of the Six Flags parks, but it was just a smaller chain. Definitely more interested in like family entertainment. And as I said, they had four parks. I think Six Flags had like a dozen or so. Pokemon in chat. Go and catch it. And then you had the independent parks. And that's certainly not a snub at the independent parks. So you have some really amazing independent parks out there, like Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, and also Knoebels in Pennsylvania is a pretty good independent park. Um, I do still plan on having a Pennsylvania trip to hit those two and Dorney Park. Dorney Park was one of the Cedar Fair chains, which also I should say, Worlds of Fun was in the Cedar Fair chain. Silver Dollar City was the original Herschend Park. Um, but yeah, the Pennsylvania parks, at least the Eastern Pennsylvania parks, are ones that I want to hit sometime soon. I think in Western Pennsylvania they have like Kennywood, if I recall correctly. I think that was a Cedar Fair park. I think, I'm not sure. Uh, but that would be a separate trip. Oh yay, an AI chatter. Go away. Um, what else was there? Okay, so that was what the theme park landscape in the US used to look like. And actually, I should say there was another chain that I'm forgetting, and that other chain will be important here in a moment. Um, Largely because a few years ago, Six Flags and Cedar Fair announced they were going to merge, which is like earth shaking because again, you have the resort parks at the top level. Um, but then below that, every like regional park, it was either a Cedar Fair or a Six Flags. You had two smaller chains and a handful of independents parks. Um, but it was Six Flags and Cedar Fair. So you had the two largest kind of regional park chains merging. Um, Obviously, with such a large portfolio, they would start to consider divesting in some other things. That resulted in the closure of some coasters without any warning to fans, which no one liked. Like Kingda Ka and Anaconda at King's Dominion. Kingda Ka is not at King's Dominion, but Anaconda was. I should be more specific there. I think Kingda Ka was Six Flags Great America. It's the New Jersey Six Flags Park. Um, yeah, I think so. But so those are two of the highest profile examples of coasters that the new Six Flags chain closed without warning. And I say new Six Flags chain because they kept the Six Flags name for the recognizability of it, but they kept most of the Cedar Fair executives. Which again, as I mentioned earlier, Cedar Fair was kind of considered a little bit of a higher quality chain than Six Flags was, so that kind of makes sense. Um, and both chains had their own like full parks pass. So after the merger, when I got my season pass for King's Dominion, it would let me get into any other chain in the entire New Six Flags park, New Six Flags chain, which is awesome. Um, I uh, After the sudden closures of a couple of roller coasters, the next kind of divest that the new Six Flags chain did was announce the closure of Six Flags America. Um, it's the other local park to the DC area. In fact, it's more local than King's Dominion is because it's right in PG County. And a lot of people say it wasn't surprising that they announced this. The land is valuable and the park never pulled numbers. But to be fair, Six Flags never really invested in it. Like the last time they got an entirely new coaster, I actually don't even remember. I think it was Roar. Because Batwing was their newest large edition, but that was a relocation. Um, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of investment. Now, the sad thing with Six Flags America is they actually did a nice revamp of one of their areas, um, which is where their Vekoma SLC was. And it's part of that revamp. They gave the coaster new trains, and of course a new paint job. But the new trains were a lot nicer than the old ones, which made the ride better. And that whole area became like this steampunk whatever, which was actually really cool. And that opened at the start of the season, and then a few months into the season, Six Flags announced Six Flags America would close at the end of the season. So obviously, the people who were running Six Flags America were not expecting to be closed on so quickly. Um, and the county is even now still trying to figure out what they're going to do with the old land because they want it to be an entertainment something. They actually, which I think Six Flags, the chain, is a little disappointed in because the land was so valuable. I bet they wanted it to be redeveloped into like housing, whatever. Which is part of the reason why they sold it. But no, so there's a new group going in trying to make it an entertainment, whatever. But yeah, so Six Flags America is no more this season. Um, a lot of their rides have been sent up to again, I think it's Six Flags Great America is the one in New Jersey. And I'm sure people watching the VOD will type in the comments and correct me when we get there. Um, so it's a lot of the smaller stuff and some of the theming has been moved. I just think it's a lot of people think it's really sad everything that's going away because Six Flags America is gone. Now, Wild One was the oldest operating coaster in the US, and now it's not. Um, Obviously, there's almost no chance it's going to be relocated. Almost no chance it's going to be preserved. It's super sad. And I'm also personally sad about Batwing. It's a Vekoma Flying Dutchman, and it is the first time I rode it was I just ended up laughing through half the ride because the sensations on that were so unique. It was awesome. It was my probably favorite ride in the park, back to back with Joker's Jinx. I love that little launch spaghetti bowl. It's better than the indoor versions of the Flights of Fear at Kings Island and King's Dominion. It's the exact same ride, it's just outdoor. And Joker's Jinx doesn't have the trim brakes. It also has a slightly improved launch system, but it doesn't have the trims in the middle of the ride, so you just roll through it. I loved it. Yeah, I'm sad that a lot of things are going. Also, Roar. Roar is one coaster that has an absolutely amazing layout, and I just wish it could have been RMC'd. I think RMCing Roar would have been an excellent investment for the park that would have brought people in. Um, and then there's Firebird, the original B&M. again, it's a relocated as well. I forget where it came from and what it was called when it was first built. Um, Lots of people like Superman the Ride. It's, Intamin hypercoaster. I wasn't a huge fan when I got my ride on it. But funny and sad story is all of the enthusiasts were in line for Superman the Ride on closing day, and the ride ops were letting people keep going even after the park closed because people were still in line. And then the poor ride breaks down. That's just the state of Six Flags America. Like, I would have gotten more rides on Batwing if it had been up and running. There was something wrong. I did end up getting a second ride earlier in the season before the Ace event, because this I got some of these rides at the Ace event. Um, I didn't go on the closing day, but for the Ace event, both Superman and Batwing were closed, and it sounds like Batwing never opened. At least Superman did, so some people got to ride it on closing, but Six Flags America, just the maintenance was an issue. They just weren't the parent company was not investing in the park enough. So it's just sad. It's actually also really sad because the first day I went, you can see I got a lot of rides in. The first day I went, 2 or 3 years ago, was fine. The park was fine. Like, everything was up and running. So everything that I went to in 2025 last year, uh, things were closed all over. It's just a sad state of the park. I wish Six Flags had taken care of it. Anyway, Six Flags, the new chain, announces the closure of Six Flags America, and people then wonder what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next ended up being discovered earlier this year when Six Flags announces a massive sale of, uh, I think, 6 or 8 of their parks to a new chain. Not a new company, but the company already had a couple of entertainment properties that this new bulk of parks from Six Flags is added to, so they're now going to be all branded as Enchanted Parks. And this was announced like 2 or so months into the season. So all of the parks as part of the sale, we're still getting would still honor all of the Six Flags passes. So, part of that sale, let's see, I'm trying to remember if I planned this trip before or after that sale was announced. Because I kind of knew, again, just from all the people talking about coaster stuff, that Six Flags St. Louis and Worlds of Fun were among kind of the lower tier parks in the new Six Flags chain. There's also like Dorney Park in Pennsylvania is one of them. I think like Michigan's Adventure was one. I think there's one in Oklahoma. Um, just a number of parks that are questionable for if the new Six Flags chain wanted to keep them. Um, but yeah, a couple months into the season, Six Flags announced that a bunch of these parks are being sold over to the Enchanted Parks chain, and there is some good news in that. For one, just having all of these lower tier parks going off into their new chain, they're now not going to be low tier within their new chain. So there's already the chance for extra investment from the new owners. And in particular, Six Flags St. Louis was actually not part of the original deal. Um, Enchanted Parks specifically requested to have Six Flags St. Louis thrown into the sale. And then the Six Flags chain said sure. But Enchanted Parks apparently wants to make Six Flags St. Louis their like flagship park, which is amazing in my opinion. Because Six Flags St. Louis, not only is it my original hometown park, but I do see that this park has a lot of potential. Um, just from this trip that I took this past weekend, I would say at the moment, Worlds of Fun is a better park than Six Flags St. Louis in terms of general quality. Although if you're an enthusiast, Six Flags St. Louis is already the better park than Worlds of Fun because it has more coasters, it has better coasters. Um, but yeah, the fact that Six Flags St. Louis is now supposedly going to be the crown jewel of Enchanted Parks, I'm expecting them to announce a lot of investment in it. And there are a few obvious things you can do. First off, I think just improve the theming, improve the stuff. One of the things about Six Flags St. Louis is that you can tell it's kind of um, a little industrial, a little thrown together. You know, you can see the back areas a lot everywhere. You can just see just regular kind of fences, just kind of the old school fences where you can see, yeah, lots of things where you can just kind of see the back end of everything. And it could just use like some landscaping and some theming, and that'll instantly make it better. Um, a little upkeep on the rides would help as well. None of the rides were closed when I was there, which is great. That's not the case for Worlds of Fun. Um, so at least the maintenance is already going pretty well at Six Flags St. Louis, just as long as they need to make it look a little better. And there are a couple of coasters that everyone talks about for improvements. The big ticket one there is the Boss. It's a CCI coaster. I think it held a couple records when it was first built. And I rode it when it was first built. Um, so it actually had like a really cool helix at the end of the ride, um, which was eventually taken out. And the trim brakes in the ride are now really intense. They slow you down quite a lot at the mid course. Um, because the problem with the Boss is it was too forceful for its own good. It is now easily one of the roughest coasters I've ever been on. I which is funny because again, my home park is King's Dominion. I've been on Grizzly, but I haven't been on Grizzly before it got its retrack. So, yeah, I would confidently say that the Boss is the roughest coaster I would have been on. The only thing kind of close to it, what would I say here, is Tidal Wave at Trimper. That was like an insanely rough boomerang. I hated that, and in fact, because of how bad that boomerang was, I intentionally skipped the boomerang at St. Louis. I did end up riding the boomerang at Kansas City, and that was actually really nice. It was smooth, so it's like maybe I shouldn't have skipped the boomerang in St. Louis. Um, but no, I was scarred by how bad Tidal Wave in Ocean City was. And I would say Boss is a little bit worse. There were some massive potholes in the ride. It really shakes you around both vertically and horizontally. So that's, yeah, the ride was too forceful for its own good, which is why they now hit the mid course so hard. They slow it down a lot, and they took out that helix at the end, which is a real shame. And the thing is, as I went to the park this week, you can see um, most of the supports for the old helix, like that, all the supports are still there. Um, but because it is a really rough wooden roller coaster, everyone says they want to RMC the Boss, and I can understand that. Considering that my home park is Kings Dominion, and I've seen how well GCI did with retracking Grizzly, I actually would prefer the Boss to be have that new vertical paneling retrack. Because I know that GCI also reprofiled some of the drops. I'm sure they could do great at putting the helix back in. But yes, I think the Boss should get the GCI retrack. But I do think RMC should come to Six Flags St. Louis because I also got my first ride on Scream and Eagle this week or this last week. Um, Scream and Eagle is a pretty typical out and back old school Woody. That's just kind of it goes up and down over a lot of hills. Um, and it's fine. It was a little rough, but nothing really bad at all. Um, just kind of the sort of the bouncing that you might expect from a wooden coaster. And I think because it's kind of plain as is, especially in the modern world, because it's kind of out and back over some hills, that's what I think RMC should take on. Um, throw some inversions in there. Add an extra add a helix to the end of Screaming Eagle. Make it taller too. RMC has, for some of its recent redos, added height to some of the coasters, and I think if the point of a wooden is to get some of that airtime over those hills, you want the height, you want the speed. So I say Screaming Eagle should be what gets the RMC treatment at St. Louis, while the Boss gets the GCI retrack and reprofile. I'm sure if investment happens, it's probably going to be RMC and the Boss because that's what the entire coaster enthusiast world wants to happen, supposedly. My personal opinion is a little different there, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Enchanted Parks does with St. Louis, which they are renaming it because it can't be Six Flags St. Louis if it's no longer the Six Flags chain. And it's not going to be Enchanted Parks St. Louis, it's going to be Enchanted Parks Mid-America, which, fine. But I do hope they get the investment because the day that I went, again, I only landed in St. Louis at like 1 in the afternoon. And it's the Midwest. You get storms in the afternoon and evening. So we didn't have a large window to actually go and do our Six Flags Day on Friday like we had planned. Now, we had already brainstormed a backup. If we left Kansas City early the following Friday, we could have like another half day or so at Six Flags then. Um, but you can see here, I hit 7 of the 10 coasters at Six Flags St. Louis really easily in like a 2-hour time span because for whatever reason, Six Flags was empty that day. Um, Now I know it's apparently been moderately empty in general, both from some friends I have in the area who you will go occasionally, and then have now discovered other theme parks. It's like, oh, this is what theme parks should be. But it seemed emptier than usual because I actually had a high school friend who's working check-in security, and she said, yeah, it's not busy today at all. It's a Friday afternoon in the summer, and no one was there. Which again, weather was coming in, so that might have been part of it. And it was also the week after 4th of July, so maybe people had had their theme park weekend the weekend before. I don't know, but every single ride for me was a walk-on. So I hit 7 coasters. I think my dad rode 4 of them with me. Um, and I probably would have hit an 8th. I wanted to go to Batman after I finished Ninja, but that was when the weather came through. I got off Ninja, and as I was getting off, they closed the queue line for Ninja and started shooing people out who were in line still. So just missed it. As I said, I intentionally skipped Boomerang. I also skipped the Rookie Racer because it was a kid coaster. It's actually a very nice kid coaster, more thrilling than most kiddie coasters are. Um, I would almost call it like a kiddie thrill because it was a little bit taller, it was a little bit longer. You actually had some banking to it, and it wasn't just this kind of like cheap rickety thing. It was like it was a good investment, and it had sound effects with it. So, and I know it all of that because I got walking around it on the queue to the boss. Um, but yeah, so I missed Rookie Racer, I missed Boomerang intentionally and maybe by mistake, and then I missed Batman because the weather came in. But yeah, I got the last ride on Ninja before everything closed down. And I do find it interesting how people often say that Ninja is one of the worst coasters in the country. Now, is it rough? Yes. Is it like day ending rough? I would say no. Like it's not a ruin your day coaster. Um, Especially because, you know, I would even say it's not even the roughest coaster in the park. The current state of the boss is rougher than what Ninja is. Um, Now, Ninja also has the over the head restraint, so if you are a shorter person, you will probably get banged up more than I did. So that might be affecting some people's rankings there. But Ninja has a good layout, and it's again, it's not the roughest coaster in the park, which again, low bar to clear because how bad Boss is right now. But no, it is far from the worst coaster in the country, I would say. I would say people should go ride it. And in fact, you can see I have these large 6 asterisks by both Ninja and Mine Train because when I was growing up, those were my go-to coasters because I was too intimidated by Mr. Freeze and by Batman. I rode each of them once. Well, no, I didn't ride Mr. Freeze. I rode Batman once, and I rode Boss once. Um, I had never rode Screaming Eagle because it's at the back of the park, so people don't really go there. In fact, the kiddie area blocks Screaming Eagle from the rest of the park. So uh, yeah, Screaming Eagle needs help. But, oh, actually, fun story though. While we were there, we realized that it was the Screaming Eagle's 50th anniversary. So I very specifically got some Screaming Eagle merch. So that was pretty cool. Oh, good lord. Sorry, let me get a drink here. But yeah, um, Ninja was one of my go-tos, as long with Mine Train, because Mine Train was just pretty chill. I didn't do a ton of coasters growing up, so now that I'm happy doing them. If I were ever to go back to Six Flags St. Louis or next year, as it will be Enchanted Parks Mid America, lots more that I'm going to be writing for sure. Um, Let me think here. Yeah, I probably do want to go back next year, or at least wait to see what they're going to invest in. Because if they invest like a new coaster or a retrack of Boss or Screaming Eagle, it's probably not going to take more than a year. Um, but yeah, also, anyone who goes to Six Flags St. Louis, do a ride on Ninja. You might have to ride a little defensively, but it is not the worst coaster in the park, or even in the country. Um, let's see, what else, what else, what else? American Thunder is good. It's a nice modern GCI. And of course, I rode two other GCIs at Kansas City. We'll get there in a moment. But American Thunder is nice. I wish they made American Thunder longer. As you ride it, you see an area of, again, it looks just like back end area. I bet they probably use it for Fright Fest, but you could have built American Thunder to be longer. Just put the supports over all of the other like little buildings and pathways in this other like little side area between American Thunder and the parking lot. Um, it's a great ride. Again, I just want it to be longer. And this is going to be a theme when we get to Silver Dollar City, which actually let's just do it because we've already kind of gone through all of the Six Flags St. Louis stuff. So, Six Flags St. Louis was Friday, Saturday and Sunday was the puzzle competition. We traveled Monday, and Tuesday we hit Silver Dollar City. And this was definitely eye-opening for my parents. They kind of knew that Six Flags was empty the Friday that we went. We were expecting a relatively easy get through of Silver Dollar City, but it was still quite packed even for a Tuesday. And again, it's more of a destination park on its own. Um, oh, I didn't go through the story of Hershend as much as I could have there. So again, Hershend, before Six Flags and Cedar Fair merged, they had four parks to their name. Recently, they bought like another small chain as well as another park. So how it used to be the largest chains after the big resort parks. It was Cedar Fair, then Six Flags, and then kind of Hershend down at four. And there was again one other small chain that I think had like five parks similar size to Hershend. Then Six Flags and Cedar Fair merged. Um, and now not only has the spin-off Enchanted Parks chain been made, but Hershend bought that other smaller chain. So Hershend now has like 10 parks to their name. I do not know much of the parks in the other small chain that they bought. Because I think their flagships are Silver Dollar City and Dollywood. They've also, again, got Kentucky Kingdom and a few others that I know of off the top of my head. But, so yeah, Silver Dollar City was the original Hershend park. The Hershend family bought an existing, basically, tour attraction at what is now called Marvel Cave. Um, Missouri is known for having a lot of caves, and they'll do touristy stuff for those caves. The Hershend family bought Marvel Cave, improved it to the point where they were getting lines out the top. They thought we should be entertaining the people who are in line for our cave tours. And that's how Silver Dollar City began. So now it is a incredibly well themed, incredibly well cared for, kind of old America sort of theme park. Kind kind of old America as in like a frontier sort of thing. Because that's kind of the whole hickey sort of thing of Branson, Missouri. It is the Vegas of the West, and instead of casinos, you have lots of cowboy and frontier theming and music shows and whatever else not. And then just some weird stuff. I think they had like the Guinness World Records Museum at one point. They have a museum to the Titanic in there now, which is why I don't know. But that's Branson for you. It is the entertainment capital of the Midwest, and it has all of there's also a bunch of religious stuff there, which is maybe unsurprising. Um, but yeah, Silver Dollar City is fun. Um, there are 6 coasters there. I personally say there are 5.5 coasters there. No, not 6. There are 7. I didn't ride the kiddie coaster at Silver Dollar City. And I kind of say 6.5 because Fire in the Hole is a coaster. It has coaster elements, but it's more of a dark ride in my opinion. But it's considered a coaster by most people, so I'm including it on my credits. Um, and sadly, this is the last year for Thunderation. It is not officially dead yet. I think it closes on January 2nd at the end of Silver Dollar City's season. I'm not going to get there to ride it again, which is why I put RIP here. But yeah, it is closing. It is a mine train. A lot of people say it's one of the best mine trains in the country. Um, I haven't ridden enough to really judge, but I can see why a lot of people like it. Um, it has an awesome kind of helix to start off out of the station, lots of ups and downs. The thing is with Thunderation is the lift hill basically takes you back into one single element and then you hit the brake run. And again, this is a theme that will come across a lot of Silver Dollar City coasters, is they feel way too short to me. There's often, like, again, a lift hill in the middle of the ride or a mid-course brake run in the middle of the ride that aren't actually in the middle. You hit that sort of what you think is the middle element, you do one more element, and then you're into the station again. So in my opinion, every single coaster at Silver Dollar City is just too short. And again, it could be a mental trick because, well, it looks like the middle is actually too close to the end. But I wanted every single one of these to be a longer ride. They were all good. So, like, that's part of the reason why I want them to be longer, because it's like, this is great, I want more of it. But yeah, every single one was just kind of short. And so honestly, none of them really stuck in my mind. I made sure to remember Thunderation because, again, it's not going to be there after this season. Time Traveler is obviously an absolutely amazing coaster, and I wanted to get multiple rides on it, but the problem was, so I got all of the 6 coasters I wanted to get. At that point, it was lunchtime, so we got lunch, and then we went to actually go through the cave tour, which takes its own hour. So we were on the 2 o'clock tour, so it's 3 o'clock. We go back out. We start heading toward like Time Traveler and stuff, and I look out on it, and there's just a train sitting on one of the launches, not moving at all. So unfortunately, Time Traveler had broken down, and we had no clue when it was going to be back, and there wasn't much else we wanted to do. We didn't feel like going to a show. We already kind of done a little bit of shopping. Like for me, I got a Thunderation final season t-shirt. I thought that would be appropriate. So I actually don't have a Silver Dollar City t-shirt. I have a Six Flags t-shirt now. I do have a Worlds of Fun t-shirt. Actually, tank top, I should say. But I don't have a specific, like, Silver Dollar City t-shirt. I've got the Thunderation final season t-shirt. But yeah, so Time Traveler was the one ride I wanted to get more rides on because of the fact that it's a spinning coaster. It has a lot of re-rideability, which none of the others I was particularly interested in riding again. Like Wildfire, you absolutely could. It's a nice, smooth B&M. It's great for that. Powder Keg was interesting. Outlaw Run, obviously a very good RMC, but like everything else, I just think it's too short. Like, I knew just from watching, roller coaster stuff, But the really fun thing about Outlaw Run is it has that like double barrel roll to end the ride. And we started getting into the barrel roll way before I was ready for it. I'm like, ah, dang it. Ah, what? It's like the quality of the coasters is good. They're all just too short. They're too short. Um, so it's like, yeah, you could ride them again, but is it worth going through the lines for that? Time Traveler is the one I really wanted to have the extra experience for, and it broke down. So got one ride on everything at Silver Dollar City, and that was about it. So that was Tuesday. We traveled on Wednesday and made it up to Kansas City so that on Thursday we hit Worlds of Fun. Now, Worlds of Fun has 7 coasters. I don't think they even have a kiddie coaster. I don't think I saw one, like a kiddie zone even. If there was a kiddie zone, I missed it or wasn't paying attention and didn't have a coaster. Because I think if you go to like RCDB, um, Worlds of Fun has 7 coasters, and I know that I rode 4 and missed 3. So the 3 that I missed, Timberwolf, which I've heard was a really rough ride. I was planning to do that at the end of the day anyway. I checked on Wednesday and it had been closed all day Wednesday. So I was kind of expecting it to be closed all day Thursday. So that was already one. I'm like, we're probably not going to get it. Mamba was the big ticket item that I wanted to ride because, in my previous visits to Silver Dollar City and Worlds of Fun when I was younger, I didn't remember much of them. The one thing that I did remember was that I intentionally skipped Mamba at Kansas City because it was too tall for me. I was too scared of it. That's a lot of theme parks. Whoa. Sort of. Yeah. I don't know how many themes have I been to. So also High Terrace. We've got King's Dominion 1, Six Flags America 2, Little Local Carnival for 3, Busch Gardens for 4, 3 different parks in Ocean City, so that's 7. And then I hit 3 more on this trip. So I've been to 10 theme parks. And again, 54 total rides. Wildfire ended up being my 50th. I hadn't planned that. Um, but uh, I'll definitely make sure to, keep track of when my next big milestone is. Because a lot of roller coaster enthusiasts love just keeping their credits up. Most people have way more than I do. But I just don't get out to parks enough. So I do want to go to some of the Eastern Pennsylvania theme parks because you can hit 3 close together. Hershey Park, Knoebels, and Dorney. So I want to make a weekend of that sometime soon. And that should push me above 60, maybe even above 70. I don't know. Hershey Park has a lot of coasters. Um, but yeah, it's all fun. Where was I? Where was I? Oh, yes. So Mamba at Worlds of Fun. I had intentionally not ridden that when I was younger because I was it looked too intense for me at the time. And now that I've ridden a lot more coasters and I love them, it's like, this is my big ticket. I skipped it when I was younger. I want to ride it today. Um, it did not open with the park. They were having trouble with it. So we ended up riding Zambezi, Zinger, Prowler, and Boomerang. And then I was like, oh, this Boomerang's actually good. I should have ridden the Boomerang at St. Louis as well, just to get that credited. Um, but Zambezi, Zinger, and Prowler are both really good. I like the new Zambezi Zinger. It's very similar to American Thunder in St. Louis. Um, yeah, just nice and tense. Love all of the zippiness of it. Prowler is more of one where I think that's a lot more like kid friendly. It's still nice and thrilling, but it's very much more there for you to feel speed. It's kind of more of an out and back coaster, while Zambezi Zinger and American Thunder are a lot more, let's do some fun banking and things like that. Get some horizontal G's in there and some, vertical G's, not just this feeling of going fast, kind of zipping through the landscape like Prowler is. I was very tempted to get a Prowler t-shirt. Actually, hang on a minute. Let me, because I'm going to show off a little bit of Prowler here. Worlds of Fun. Because Prowler, if you can't tell from the name of like prowling around, it is a black Jaguar theme coaster. Okay, here we go. Let me get this photo pulled up. Oh no, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Yes. Actually, that's not a good photo. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I'll get this ready. Okay, hang on. All right, I'll just move this over. This over. Move this over. Do that. Yeah. Oh no. My window is off kilter. Um, nope, that's not what I wanted. Anyway, you can see kind of the big cat on the sign there. What's another fun one? Also the big cat logo there. Hang on, Worlds of Fun. Maybe I can just get the logo. Or you can also see at the front of the trains, they've got some of it. Let's see if I can do this better. That's not as good. Yeah, okay, there's your little logo. But yes, I was very tempted to get the big cat merch for Prowler. Um, if I go back to Worlds of Fun, in fact, I have to go back to Worlds of Fun because I've missed almost half the coasters there. But I'll go back, and that'll be my next merch that I get at Worlds of Fun. Yes, big cat coaster for a big cat. Absolutely. You gotta love that. There's actually, of all the coasters that I've ridden so far, there aren't many big cat themed coasters. Let me go back up here and just double check. I guess you can kind of consider Roar at Six Flags America sort of as a big cat coaster. They didn't really have a logo that included a big cat though, which is unfortunate. Um, I guess I-305 is now Pantherian. Actually, oh yeah, that's a big cat. In fact, while I was at Kansas City, I saw someone with a Pantherian t-shirt. I hadn't bought a Pantherian t-shirt when they first rebranded because the t-shirts that I saw at Kings Dominion at the time were just like a big list of the coaster's stats, and I don't like t-shirts like that. Like the t-shirt should look cool. I don't want to be a spreadsheet on a t-shirt, basically. But the guy I saw with the Pantherian t-shirt, it was an awesome, like, dark blue, black t-shirt that just had the Panther on it. I want that t-shirt. Next time I go to Kings Dominion, I'm absolutely looking for that t-shirt. Wildcat at Jolly Roger in Ocean City. Um, and then, yeah, I guess the only other one now is Prowler. It's about Rebel Yell. Talking to a friend about Rebel Yell. Yeah. Um, it has not been called Rebel Yell for a while, thankfully, because you know, sad fact about King's Dominion or Virginia as a whole is it was part of the Confederacy. Um, at least Virginia, out of all of the ex-Confederate states, seems to be relatively good about actually kind of shuffling all of that under the rug. um, I have never actually, so it's now called Racer 75, 75 based on the year it was built. Because you'll want to get rid of that whole rebel Confederate iconography, so that it's not called that anymore. Um, but unfortunately, it's never been racing any time I've been there. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. I think it was racing because I went last year was like King's Dominion's 50th anniversary. Oh yeah, 75 to 25, exactly. So it was racing last year. I think I did one race for it. But generally speaking, it has not been racing. So that's always unfortunate. At some point, um, that's kind of the next coaster I think that King's Dominion, if they're going to replace one, that would be it. Um, it's got a lot of history, so I can understand people wanting to keep it, especially because it's kind of one of those out and back, just kind of lots of hills, kind of like Screaming Eagle is at St. Louis. Um, but Racer 75 has its own potholes and roughness, so unless they retrack it, I would love to see them, take it out and put a new modern coaster in. Um, Anyway, that was a long tangent that we went on based on Prowler and Big Cats. um, what else do I want to say there? So yeah, I went on Zambezi Zinger and Prowler and Boomerang. I then went to go wait in line for Mamba because a line was forming, which made it sound like it was going to get up and running. And we actually did see it test a cycle or two. Um, but then all the mechanics went out to start looking at it and like, oh, dang, this ride isn't going to open anytime soon. So me and my family went on the raft ride next to that. And at that time, it was already time for lunch. So we went to go get lunch. Um, and I thought after that point, we'll hit Patriot and we'll hit Spinning Dragons. I went on Patriot by myself because my dad initially didn't think he wanted to do it. But then after he saw me go through it, he wanted to get on, so I did it again, which meant it's the only coaster this entire trip where I actually got multiple rides on it. But it's one of the old school B&M inverts. Those are super trustworthy. Those are super fun. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I guess it was also kind of on the shorter side, but there was no mid course on it. So you took it all at once and it felt pretty good. Um, and I know Mamba would be a longer coaster. I know Timberwolf would be a longer coaster if we got to ride on those. I don't think Zambezi, Zinger, and Prowler were too short in my opinion. How long was the line for? You mean how long was the line for Patriot? Um, I would say so for Worlds of Fun. The park wasn't super full. Again, it was a Thursday, so it wasn't super busy. Um, Almost all of the coasters, none of them were walk-ons, but for all of them, it was only like a one, maybe two cycle wait to get onto each one. So yeah, I rode Patriot. We just got back in line. We had to wait for one cycle, and then I got my second ride on it. Um, and that was actually also it was probably more than one cycle because I spent a little bit of time chatting with my parents before we actually went on because it was like, oh yeah, Dad wants to ride it as well. Um, so yeah, Worlds of Fun was full enough. Again, that every ride you got on quickly, but you didn't get on immediately. So that all worked out relatively well. Unfortunately, after we were done with Patriot, um, everything started closing down for weather. Again, this is Missouri, Midwest, summertime. Thunderstorms happen. Um, so yeah, Mamba hadn't opened um, before the storms came in, and we didn't get to go on Spinning Dragons either. And the thing is, like, if it was just like one of the more intense short thunderstorms, we said, okay, we'll wait it out. Where, you get a massive amount of rain, and then it kind of peters off for half an hour, and then it's done. Unfortunately, for this past Thursday, it was supposed to rain from like 2 in the afternoon all the way until 6. So there was no point in waiting it out. So unfortunately, that's why. So I missed Mamba, I missed Spinning Dragons. I also missed Timberwolf, but I was kind of expecting that was going to be closed all day anyway because it had been closed all day the day before. So all the more reason to. Uh-oh, I don't own that ball. No. I think I can do this. But yeah, so all the more reason to go back to Kansas City at some point. Uh, get the rides that I missed. Holy crap! It's a shiny. Oh, I got a shiny Drift Blim. Hang on a minute here. That was random, and I got it as a clone ball as well. Did I get 2 shinies from that? I got 2 shinies from the clone ball. Holy shit! Oh, heck! All right, wow. That now means I have a grand total of 7 shinies, because I think I have a team that's almost entirely shiny that I've used to just kind of show off for fun before. Oh no, it's not all shinies. I have 3 shinies and 2 event Pokemon, which are basically the game making its own shinies. Um, Damn, double shiny Drifblim. Okay. Um, back on topic. Excuse me. Ugh, throat. But yes, so I have to go back to Kansas City to get basically the other half of the coasters there. And I'm excited to see what happens with Six Flags St. Louis as it transitions into Enchanted Parks Mid-America. I really hope that they improve the boss and maybe improve Screaming Eagle and just make the park look better. Because it sounds like Six Flags St. Louis, again, is struggling a little bit at the moment in terms of attendance. So this need to make it more worthwhile for the locals to go and also give it something for the non-locals to be drawn in by. And I think, if they RMC the boss, great. If they do what I would love, GCI the boss and RMC Screaming Eagle, that would be even better in my opinion. But I'm excited to see what kind of investment that Enchanted Parks does, because again, they said they want to make Six Flags their flagship park. So that should be awesome. I will absolutely be going back to St. Louis next year anyway for that theme park, or not theme park, the puzzle contest that I mentioned earlier, especially because it's now going to be 3 days instead of 2 days on the weekend. Um, so yeah, we'll just have to see how that all goes. Um, and it's really nice because, my parents were also both pleasantly surprised by how much they enjoyed all of the parks we went to. Um, it's especially because, my mom wasn't riding any coasters at all. Um, she actually, unfortunately, has had a lapse instead of with her osteoporosis meds, so she was not going to ride anything. Um, but particularly enjoyed Silver Dollar City and also enjoyed Worlds of Fun. It was, nice environment. Again, Six Flags St. Louis could use a little bit more theming to make the environment feel a little better. Um, and that's a low-hanging fruit for Enchanted Parks to improve on. But yeah, so next year I will absolutely be going back in the summer for my puzzle contest, and then, who knows? Maybe we just swing by Six Flags St. Louis one day as well as a family, because that should be fun. Um, yeah. Excuse me. And that's the bad thing. So Worlds of Fun was Thursday. We drove back to St. Louis on Friday. I flew back to DC on Saturday. And then Sunday I got sick. Um, so I've been trying to get through that ever since. I actually ended up napping for about 3 hours both yesterday afternoon and this afternoon. And despite being a tiger myself online, I almost never nap in real life. Like, if it is light out, I cannot sleep. Also, if I'm on a moving vehicle at all, I cannot sleep. So, like sleeping on the plane or sleeping on the car rides between the theme parks was not in the cards at all. Which sucked again because I got up at like 3 or 4 in the morning the previous Friday with all of that travel woes and flight cancellations. But so yeah, I'm sick now and I've napped for the first time in years. Uh, Thankfully Dayquil and NyQuil are helping quite a bit. Um, but we will hopefully be better by the end of the week. I'm still planning on streaming every night, although like tonight, I'm probably not going to go the full time for each of them. Um, yeah, because I definitely don't think I can do 3 hours tomorrow. I'm not doing 2 hours today. I've gotten an hour in already. I've got a little bit more chat in me, but I'm not going to go the full 2 hours either. Because I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what we can have some fun with is you know what I should have done here? Let me show everyone the coasters that we went through. We'll just start. How do we browse the best way? If I go through. Oh, here, let's just go. Oh, they have to go by name for the coasters. All right. Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. So, what's the best? We'll get specs. What is a good picture of it? So, actually, this is probably even a better picture than the. Yes, there we go. That's an awesome. Oh no! My window is off kilter. All right, OBS. We're gonna move things around here. Yes, I did dodge the Missouri lettuce. Um, yeah, that's insane with all the recalls and whatever else not that's going on. Um, but I mean that lettuce is everywhere across the eastern half of the country right now. And as much as Taylor Farms is trying to say, "Oh no, it's not us, it's them," it's very much them. Um, you know, we could get into a politics chat right now, but I'm not going to. But we'll just say that Taylor Farms is definitely on the opposite side of politics than I am. uh, but yeah, so Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, if you're looking at this view right here, you launch out of the station backwards, go through the top hat, go through a banked curve off to the side, come up to this spike, get a little launch up the spike so that you have enough speed to go through everything else. Um, so I was way too intimidated by this when I was growing up. But now that I like launch rides and things like Pantherian at King's Dominion, it's amazing. Um, and so I also would have wanted to maybe ride this one a second time or so. Again, everything was a walk on that day at Six Flags, but so I got 7 rides in 2 hours, which is amazing. And I probably would have gotten more if, again, those Midwest late afternoon thunderstorms hadn't started rolling in. Um, but no, I would dare say that Mr. Freeze is the best coaster in the park. But it is short, so I can also see people liking Batman or American Thunder. Because American Thunder is quite good. But Batman, it's a typical Batman clone. If you've been to a Six Flags park, you are probably pretty familiar with it. Can I go through? Where's a click through? Yeah, there we are. Oh, that's a good view of it. But yeah, very typical Batman clone. Um, so it's relatively intense, and I only wrote it once when I was growing up. I was always the thing is with this one, I wasn't necessarily knew it was intense, but I knew your feet were hanging, and that's what intimidated me back at the time when I was growing up. Which is silly to think of now. Um, so I'm kind of sad that I missed it, but I'm glad that I got to go to Patriot at Worlds of Fun, which is not one of the clone versions of the B&M inverts. Oh, that's an even better picture. Yeah, it's fun. I will definitely try to get that next time I go to Six Flags St. Louis. But yeah, so I would say if you're talking about the best coasters in the park, it's either Mr. Freeze, Batman, or American Thunder. So this is a very relatively modern GCI. I say relatively, you can see it's almost 20 years old now, which is wild to think about. Um, it's at the front of the park. I'm going to see if we can see um, a good view of that extra area near the front that I thought could be better used. And of course, I'm not going to probably have a picture of it. But it's basically kind of oh, previously known as Evil Knievel Coaster. Interesting. Um, but I think it's like, ooh, that's a good view of it though. Ah, here we are. Yes, yes, yes. So over to the left here, you can kind of see there's like, I think that's just concrete ground. I know there's like a building over here as well, so that might be the building's roof. But you could have built this coaster over this area and given it more time. Um, it was still long enough, in my opinion, but it could have been longer. And yeah, I would have loved it if it was. But this is a very good modern wooden coaster. Is there anything I want to show off here? Probably stuff that nothing that can really be easily shown off. Let's go. What's the best way to do it? Let's go over here. Silver Dollar City. One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, so there are 7 coasters at Silver City. This is the kiddie coaster. Not gonna worry about it. And also, they say that Fire in the Hole is family as well. It is the new one is made by RMC, so it's got some nice stuff in it. Um, Look at Thunderation. Oh, they don't have many pictures of it. That's sad. But yeah, here's like the opening helix for Thunderation. It is really nice, and it goes down into a tunnel. Most mine trains have tunnels, but it's a nice thing. I like it. Yeah, closing January 2nd at the end of the season. Um, Time Traveler again. I wish I could have gotten multiple rides on this, but it broke down midday. Um, but yeah, just the fact that every single one spins is just awesome. Let me see if we can find a good. The nice thing about oh yeah, Time Traveler. You just drop out of the station vertically. That is probably one of the coolest elements. But they've got some of theirs. So they've got like kind of loops and corkscrews. Where's a good picture of the whole ride? Why have they not done it? Oh, wow. Oh, hang on, hang on. So there's the drop out of the station again. Just vertical drop. It is intense. It sounds like an extreme vertigo recipe. I mean, if you're not used to it, yeah, but I love it. Here's a good picture of the entire ride. So I think this is the station drop. There's some of the launch track, and yeah, you've got a couple of loops, lots of overbanks, and the cars spin. So lots of rewritability, if you like that stuff, and I absolutely want to. Sad that it broke down. Let's see. Anything else I want to show off in Missouri? Not particularly. Powder Keg is fun. It's that old ride that used to have a water ride element to it. Wildfire is just a classic B&M sit down. And this ended up being my 50th credit, so that's kind of fun. Again, like every ride, I think it should be faster. All of the coasters here say they're like 2+ minutes long, and they are not. Maybe they are if you include the lift track and the brake run and the station. But in terms of prime ride time, these are not long enough here at Silver Dollar City. I would love if Silver Dollar City makes a coaster where the prime ride time is at least 80 seconds, because I don't think any of these have that. Last up then is Worlds of Fun. So let's look at Mamba, the one that I missed. So you can see it. You can see this one from the highway. It is incredible. It is tall. Who did it again? I think it's the Morgan. Yes, it's an old Morgan Hyper. You can see the trains and kind of the classic Morgan bunny hills at the end. And they have recolored it actually now that I look at it. So there's the turnaround helix at the far end of the park. So yeah, it was red when I skipped it when I was younger. I don't know why they redid it. I don't know what it maybe used to be called. But you can kind of see there's the drop from the lift. There's another huge hill. Goes up to this thing with the turnaround and comes back around. It seems pretty fun. Oh, I need to get new Pokeballs, don't I? Otherwise, I'm stuck with using clone balls, which are not great. So let's see, where is it? Oh, yes, 205 feet. So that's a hypercoaster. Really would love to do that. That is, again, big ticket item for the next time I go back to Kansas City. But everything else is pretty fun. Let's see, again, we looked at Prowler a little bit earlier. Is there a good view of the entire ride? There is not. Unfortunate. But you can kind of see it going through the woods there. Again, it's kind of out and back for the most part. Lots of speed hills. So that's what that one is more for. But if we go over and look at Zambezi Zinger, that's the old one. They haven't updated the picture there. This is the new one. So you can definitely see it's more twisty and turny. That's the old one. You can tell the old one versus the new one because the new one actually has the lift hill encased. Oh, and this is these are the speaking of Morgan Hypers. I missed it. Steel Force is not in my spreadsheet. So Steel Force, where is that? So that's in Dorney. So that's one of the ones that I want to go to in eastern Pennsylvania. Um, so that's, yeah, height of 205 again. 5,000 feet, so it's over a mile long. And that's what I like to see in coasters. If a coaster is over a mile long, that is a plus in my book. Um, but no, Steel Force definitely on my list. If and when I go to Dorney. Again, those classic Morgan bunny hills at the end. But yeah, I definitely hope to get Dorney, Hershey, and Knoebels all in one long weekend sometime soon. Maybe this year if I can swing it. But I don't want to do that trip by myself. I would love if I can get friends to go with me. And the problem is then you're coordinating grown adults with everyone has their own schedules. It's a lot tougher. Um, but yeah. So spreadsheet here. So the three kind of mid-Atlantic parks I've been to, again, Kings Dominion, Six Flags America, and Busch Gardens Williamsburg. But still eyes. Why eyes, Terranus? Why are you giving me the eyes? Um, no, I do have my list of rides that I still need to grab. Actually, Six Flags America is now I can't do that at all because that's out. When I think about it, I have not rode the Kiddie Coaster at Kings Dominion. I'm not really incentivized to ride the Kiddie Coaster. But at Busch Gardens, to any of the big coasters before in the U.S., it's fun. Yeah, I will definitely want to hit. Any of the hyper coasters, any of the Giga coasters, those will be fun. I do need to go down to Carowinds. I know they've got a Giga down there. Um, that's rated as one of the best coasters in the country. Um, but yeah, when I went to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, that was the year that Dark Coaster was new. Unfortunately, the line was way too long. I didn't do it first thing. Because also Pantheon was also relatively new, and that was one I kind of prioritized. And unfortunately, Pantheon is right by Tempesto, and Tempesto had been broken down that day, so I missed those. We'll go back to those at some point. Busch Gardens has also now put the Big Bag Wolf, the Wolf's Revenge in, so that's also on my list the next time I go. That'll probably be my number one, number two, number three, just to get those credits in. But yeah, three coasters at Worlds of Fun to get, and hopefully the Pennsylvania Park soon. Um, but we'll see how that all goes. Is there anything else I want to show off at the rides? I don't know. I'm really excited for whatever King's Dominion does next. I know there isn't necessarily anything planned after Rapterra, but after they took out Anaconda, that leaves a huge gap over the lake there that I would love to see something big go in. Let's see. A few of your friends were considering heading to Six Flags Magic Mountain since they're attending ASC but couldn't make enough PTO to join them. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of the biggest parks in the country based on the number of coasters. I think they have like 20, which is insane. Um, like I am really glad. Let's see if we go back. Actually, we'll just have to go around a bit. Because Six Flags St. Louis has 10, which is already a lot. Missouri has an insanely large number of coasters for its population. But I'm also glad that here in Virginia, um, King's Dominion has 13, which is also quite a bit. It is way up there in terms of coaster count. Um, so if they add something to replace Anaconda, even better. I will be super excited. Um, but yeah, Magic Mountain is a great park. If I ever get out to California for Magic Mountain, um, the big ticket item there, um, for me at least, is where is it? X2. That is their 4D coaster. Um, so you're hanging below the track, and there is actually a second track that interacts with the coaster cars, so that the coaster cars spin separate from what the overall layout is, because the second track uh, basically causes the car itself to spin around even as you're going through. So it's I guess you could call it almost similar to the mock spinners, where the cars are spinning separate from the track. But for this one, they are spinning in kind of like the vertical direction, and that spinning is engineered for each element of the ride. While for like the mock spinners, you're kind of spinning horizontal relative to the track, and that just depending on the forces that you're experiencing going through. So those mock spinners are also really fun, or any spinning coaster where you're free spinning, because if you kind of misbalance the car that you're in by having everyone sit on one side, you can get some crazy spinning going on. And actually, while we're on that note, one of the better rides at Six Flags America was actually their little Wild Mouse spinning coaster, Raging Cajun, um, because it had that free spinning, and it was actually a relatively well upkept ride. Let me go back to RCDB. Oh, it's not getting me the history. If we go back to, actually, I don't even want Virginia, do I? I want Maryland. Oh, it's not even up anymore. Oh, no. Raging Cajun, Six Flags America. Yeah. Really cute cars. And just a wild mouse that actually gave you some spinning. This has been relocated. I think relocations. Yes, I think it is now at Six Flags Great America. No. That's where it came from. Great Adventure is the one in New Jersey. Okay. I think it's now here at Great Adventure. Oh no, it is Great America now. Started at Great Adventure, now is at Great America. Okay. It was not one of the rides that went to Great Adventure. The Six Flags naming is wild. Well, DC themed coasters in New Jersey. Yeah, so if we go to Great Adventure, so this is the thing, Six Flags, just as a chain, had a marketing deal. So that basically allows them to use DC characters. So that's why when I mentioned like the Batman ride earlier, um, a lot of yeah. So here's another Batman the ride. So this is the exact same coaster that is named the same at Six Flags St. Louis. Obviously painted different, but Six Flags just kept cloning this model at all of their parks, and at every park they named it Batman. I think there's one where they didn't name it Batman. Um, and actually, like at Six Flags America, they did have the Superman ride and the Batman ride, but at Six Flags America, the Batman was that Vekoma Flying Dutchman that I mentioned earlier. That is now that entire model no longer exists because that was the last one, and they've closed Six Flags America in DC. So, but yeah, you'll see a lot of coasters and flat rides at any Six Flags park with the DC branding on them. So let me go back to actually Six Flags America. Let me go to, let's see. Yeah, look at all these Batmans again. Hang on, let's go back to Raging Cajun, Six Flags America. So it was Batwing, sorry. Not Batman the Ride, it was Batwing. But yeah, they had Joker's Jinx, which is obviously the Joker, Superman Ride of Steel. And they had a really fun thrill ride card like Harley Quinn something. And you'll see a lot of Harley Quinns at other things, or Supergirls. Actually, if we go to oh, they don't have a Supergirl ride? Okay, hang on. What else have they had? Oh, the Wonder Woman rides. Uh, yeah, so you can see a couple Wonder Woman things all again at Six Flags parks. Um, So it'd actually be really interesting if we go to Batman the Ride at Six Flags St. Louis. So St. Louis is now no longer going to be in the Six Flags change, and it's in Enchanted Parks. So everything at Six Flags St. Louis, like it's Mr. Freeze for sure. Um, Batman and Mr. Freeze and some of the other thrill rides that have those DC branding, they're gonna have to rename all of them. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, sold to Enchanted Parks. But yeah, that'll be fun to see what happens. Uh, but yeah, that's about all I can think of there. And honestly, this is actually maybe we're hour and a half in, more than an hour, but not the 2 hours we would normally schedule. I am starting to feel a little dizzy. So that is the cold kicking in. Uh, yeah. So I am probably going to call it for here. I've definitely enjoyed having our little roller coaster chat for today. Hope you all have enjoyed as well. Uh, but this is probably it for me. I will be back tomorrow. We will be doing Bistro again. Probably not a full 3 hours because I don't think I'll have that energy in me. Um, but should be fun. I'm glad to be back streaming, glad to get back into the swing of things, and yes, I will be getting some good rest. Hopefully, I'll get well soon. Hope everyone's enjoyed, and with that, let's see. If anyone's watching the YouTube VOD now is the time to do all the fun YouTube stuff. Hit like if you like the video, subscribe and ring the bell if you want to see more like this. I have a link down in the description to my Ko-fi page if you want to support me for any reason. It is always appreciated. And with that, I will see y'all later. Bye.